BBC Persian correspondent Rana Rahim, who's in the studio with me. And Rana, talk us through the results that we know so far.
So, Mariam, Iran's election office just announced the latest numbers. Out of 28.6 million votes that have been counted, Ebrahim Raisi has won 17.8 million votes. Mohsen Rezai has won 3.3 million. Abdul Nasser Hemmati has won 2.4 million, and Ghazizadeh Hashemi has won 1 million votes. So this was quite predictable. We're not surprised by this. What we care about at this point is the turnout, because calls for boycotting this election has been the strongest ever. So we had factions of the reformist camp calling for boycotting the election, and the opposition inside and outside the country. As it stands, turnout is 48%. And if this doesn't change, this would be the lowest turnout in a presidential election in the history of the Islamic Republic.
I mean, in some countries, a turnout under 50% would basically void the entire election. Why do you think the hardline Iranian regime decided to sacrifice turnout in favour of getting their man in?
They had several reasons, but probably the most important one is the succession of Iran's supreme leader. He's in his 80s, and many believe that he might pass away in the next 4 years during the next president's term. And it's very important for the hardliners to have another ultra-conservative hardliner as the president, so he wouldn't pose a challenge for the next supreme leader.
Give me an idea now of what life is like in Iran, because obviously these elections come at a very difficult time. US sanctions, economic strife, and also coronavirus has hit Iran very hard indeed.
Disappointment and anger is quite high amongst people. So if the turnout is like this, about 25% turnout has dropped, which is huge. It means that millions of people have decided not to vote, and it shows that they're very angry. Iran has faced two nationwide sets of protests in the last 4 years because of the economic situation, and more importantly because of lack of freedom and democracy. So there are calls on every section of the Iranian society, those who are worried about the economy and those who want more freedom. And overall, it seems that the number is quite large.
Rana, explain to viewers at home who are watching this, potentially thinking, well, it's an election. There were a number of candidates. But it's not as simple as that, is it?
No, it's difficult to call it an election. Many call it a selection, because there is the powerful Guardian Council, which is appointed by the Supreme Leader, either directly or indirectly, and they decide who qualifies to run for the president. And this time, they made sure that no serious reformist or more liberal candidate could stand for the election. And it means that the choice was so limited, and that's one of the reasons many people decided not to vote.
And how does this put Iran going forward in terms of the international community and what's happening with its standing internationally?
So the world is now facing with a new Islamic Republic. In the view of many analysts, Iran is no longer a republic, it's an Islamic state. Some compare it with ISIS because all the sections and the branches of power in Iran is now dominated by ultra-conservatives. But on the other hand, it means the West is facing a united political system. More or less everybody who's in charge thinks within the same lines, but it might mean that dealing with Iran will be more difficult than before.
OK, Rana, thank you.